Welcome back to Impact Podcast. My name's Jeremy Melton, and today we are going to talk about impact, of course. Maddie, my co-host, and we have a guest, Nick Austin. On this show, we're going to uncover some things about life that can help us on our journey to make an impact on the world that we live in. And so we ask ourselves on this show, what are we doing to make an impact, and what does it look like? So before we get started with our guest, Maddie, let's talk about last week ever so quickly. Oh, this is episode number 9. And like I said, it is with Nick Austin. We're going to do a little interview today for him. But before we do, Maddie, let's talk about last week, just briefly.
All right.
What was your key takeaway?
I would say the key takeaway for me was stop telling your kids because I said so. Because I said so.
That's good.
And that's because you said so.
I got you. No, so yeah, I mean, we talked about that. How that it's in fact damaging.
Yeah.
To the kid, and so damaging to a relationship when you say, "Hey, kid, go wash your clothes." Why? Well, I got to. No, it's because I said no. It's not because you said so. There's a reason.
Right.
We talk about having a purpose. How critical it is to give your purpose in leadership.
I think the communication part of that was huge because how you explained it, because I said so, it doesn't really give much. Yeah, obviously you're not telling your kid why, but then also you're teaching them a capability. You know, it's growing them into a better person too.
Right.
So
that's right. Well, so that's the goal, is to make good kids, good children, and part of that is, in fact, teaching them why. Mm-hmm. What's the purpose behind the reason? What's the reason why I'm telling you that?
Right.
Instead of just because I said so.
Last week was good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, so Daniel, he's not with us today because we have a guest. Mm-hmm. But Daniel said that his reps were so, I think I used the word reps, but when you're working out, you're training your muscle. Your leadership's the same way, right? So you teach yourself to lead through reps. Mm-hmm. And so we went through the 5 C's is what we kind of came to, that clarity, confidence, and, I don't have my notes with me, but courteous, yeah. So those 5 C's and how important they are. And so anyway, good stuff. But Daniel said reps was his takeaway, the fact that he needs to practice. Mm-hmm. And so practicing makes perfect. So, all right, so we're going to get started. Nick Austin, my friend. We're going to get started. We're going to begin. Our guest is Nick, and we're going to ask questions, and we're going to just talk to you. So thank you for coming first.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. And before we start with the questions, I do want to give it a minute just to tell our audience about yourself, and more specifically about your family.
So I'm recently remarried in 2021 to a wonderful wife, and we have 4 kids between us together. She has a son and a daughter, and I have a son and a daughter, with the daughters being the oldest. So they're 23, 22, and the 2 boys are 20.
4 kids total.
4 kids total.
2 and 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
So pretty awesome, and of course, face some challenges there too, and blending that. But all in all, it's been great. Had a long career with a company out of Atlanta. I've been there since '98, so going on 27 years. Wow. So I've been able to experience a lot and see a lot there. Didn't grow up in church a whole lot, but I say I didn't, but we'll get into that when people that influenced me in my life as we go into the show. But I have been around it. I give my life to Christ when I was 12 years old. Mm-hmm. It's just been great. Had a
good. So you're a Christian, follower of the Lord.
Yes, sir.
That's good. 4 kids. You've been at your career since 1998. How many years is that? Let's see.
I was only 8 years old.
You're going to make him feel old.
I am old, man.
He said 27 years.
27 years.
Yep.
Wow. With one company. That's good. So for any of our listeners that recall, Nick Austin was the guy that my brother spoke about in very much detail. If you go back and listen, but Brandon Holtzinger came underneath Nick, as did I, through the years. And so we had talked heavily about Nick in our episode with Brandon. And so if you want to go back and hear what all the bad things you could say about Nick, you can go there. But we're going to talk about the good stuff today. No, I'm kidding. Nick, you've been a good man for people to follow for years, and so I admire you a lot. I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
All right, so let's just get right in. And Maddie, feel free to jump in at any time. We're gonna ask Nick that question later.
Okay.
So let's get him warmed up. Nick, how do you personally lead others right now?
Right now, it's changed a lot from before. So right now, I'm actually having to change my leadership style versus before. I was hands on and kind of right there with the guys, and even in my family, kind of right there. Everybody was in our house and in our home, but now I have to take a different approach. Not only do I have a lot more people that I have to lead, but I have to lead from afar too. So.
Oh, interesting. So, I was clicking up like, and look, Nick, Maddie and I may stop you from time to time just because we need to talk about something. But look, in our journey to talk about leadership, we're talking to many different people and different elements of leadership. But what's interesting is there's a journey, and your leadership has to adapt to your situation, right? That's what we found. Mm-hmm. And so it's cool, really cool. What you're going to share today is from a different perspective. And it's fresh too, right? Because he just promoted. So actually we should introduce that. So Nick, I did not introduce you by your job title, but you're tell me what you are. Tell the audience how you lead currently. Fundamentally, what do you do? What's your job?
So I'll just kind of quickly go through the transition then. So
Okay.
I was a project superintendent out in the field, which I could have anywhere from 8 to 20, 25 guys under me at one time, that I'd have to lead. So now I just got promoted to field ops supervisor, which we have somewhere between 50 to 60 foremen and probably 190 to 200 guys.
Wow.
Having to lead now. So, and I like to be real personal, so I like to get to know my guys and get to know more than just their work life, and really get involved in them to let them know that I'm here for them,
Wow.
and that they can trust me, So I think as I try to lead, they need to know they can count on me, which in a smaller setting, say when you were working with me or Brandon, it was just us. It was a lot easier to acquire that trust and let them know you're sincere. And when you have less contact with people every day, showing that sincerity and showing that you care is
more important.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow, 200 people, huh?
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big deal, right? And Brandon come to us. He had 20 or 30 guys. He's a battalion chief for Rockdale. He and I'm going through the leaders right now just for context here because it's important. I want our audience to understand you're leading 200 people, and so there may be somebody out there that's doing the same thing that could learn from you. So you're personally leading others in a supervisor role from an office now.
Yes.
So you alluded to being present or absent, and that changes leadership and the style in which you lead. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to take a note here for 1 second. So, Nick, what kind of impact do you want to have on the world?
Real loaded question there.
Well, it when you're young, that you don't even really think about an impact that you might have, but as you get older and you start realizing though that you want to leave something with someone, and I noticed that you won't when I leave this world or I leave or I retire or something, you want people to talk about you even after you're gone.
Sure.
So
Well, that's your legacy.
yeah. So what I would want people to say about me, that the guy really cared, loved passing on knowledge and taking in knowledge from others too. Just a real genuine person.
That's good. So you want to be known as someone that cared, someone that was genuine, someone that loved to lead and pass on knowledge. I mean, that's what leaders do, right? So, and having a profound impact on someone's life is directly correlated with being able to do those things. So that's perfect.
Well, I think one thing you just said too is he received knowledge. And I think that goes back to being one of the things that we talked about last week was being able to listen, and communications, like, it's a two-way street. You have to be able to obviously give the knowledge that you've got, but there's no way for you to grow or get any better if you can't step back and listen and take it in yourself.
But just a small example, like I went into my supervisor's office the other day, and we had to have a serious conversation about the stuff that's coming up in the future and all. And then when we got done, he kind of paused and he said, "Hey, I want to show you something." So he's like, "So I want you to notice anytime I bring someone in my office and we're going to have a leadership conversation or just a serious conversation," he said, "I always clear my desk. I want to be able to make sure that we can see eye to eye, no obstacles in between us." So right then, I knew that I still had some growing to do. So I asked was there any kind of training I could do on my own or anything that the company offered for me to, I don't know the word I'm looking for,
extend
to grow
and
there,
yeah.
to grow there, because not only now, before, I'm leading construction workers, but now when you go into a board of executives or, your audience is different. So the way you're going to present yourself in a professional manner is going to be different. And you want to be able to lead in that too.
Oh man, absolutely. And look, we talked about it the last week. I said, leader, you're learning as a leader. You're learning constantly, and leaders are learners. Okay, and so you being receptive to that and picking it up, right? You heard what he said, and you don't. A lot of times too, something else you can do is you don't sit behind the desk. Depends on what kind of conversation you're having, but you want to sit beside the desk. You don't really want a desk between the two of you if you really want to connect with someone. And so depending on who you're talking to will determine how you sit in your office if you're in that position. And then the phone being face down or not on the desk at all is very important because even the way you sit, you should sit with your arms open, not crossed. So there's lots of different things like that you should learn as a leader. And the fact that he was sharing that's good.
And you want the guys to know that you're totally
hearing them.
Yes. You're totally in that conversation, and
that's right.
You're totally.
Well, and going from being in the field, like, you're obviously not an office position, right? Is what you're.
He is now. He is now.
You're right. So it's totally different. That's
right.
where, and it's got to be a totally different.
He used to lead by getting up there in the ladder and showing them what to do. And now he's got to get them to do it from the ground, or really from the office.
That's tough.
No, that's good. So that's interesting, Nick. And the fact, number one, your awareness to that is in my opinion, really good. Because, there is a big difference. And you got to be intentional about it. So it's good. All right, so this is a good one. I love this question. What is your approach to motivating other people?
Approach to motivating other people. So this is good because we can get into throwing channel locks and stuff like that. But I set high expectations of myself and of the people on my team. So I think you have to challenge those that are working with you, and some may not agree with this wholeheartedly, but I don't mind setting the bar even too high. Mm-hmm. And then if we don't reach that bar, of course we can say why or was the bar too high, but I think you have to challenge people to kind of do more and beyond of what they think they can do, and then of course let them know, hey, you've done great getting there, or some feedback, and even take feedback from them. Hey, why was my expectation too high, or why do you think we didn't get there? So I think challenging people and taking them. Let them know they can go to that next step too.
So challenging people is a big one. That's a huge deal, and it directly correlates with your ability to motivate people. If you can challenge them, they'll get going. Typically, so that's really good. What do you do if they don't meet the challenge? You make them aware that they didn't meet the expectation, or they know that. But how do you manage that? Like how do you make it okay? How do you cheer them on next time?
Well, I think that depends on the person. So you got to know your audience.
Okay.
I'll just use you for example, and I may be way off, but I think I'm pretty close
You're
here.
good.
So you were the first apprentice I ever had as a foreman. So
I feel special.
I was 23, 24 years old, somewhere right there, and of course, and you were 18, so really not that much of an age gap. So really, just babies leading babies. You know what I mean? So, but you know, growing up and playing ball and all, so there's always a high expectation there. When you don't meet that high expectation, you hear yelling or whatever. So you always bring something with you that maybe you don't know you bring subconsciously, but like you and your brother are totally different.
Yeah.
Both exceptional workers, exceptional leaders, but I could really get on you,
Yeah.
and it would push you.
It
You know what I
would.
mean? Like you'd want to do better. Like, man,
Yeah.
he just chewed me out. You know, it would where you take like Brandon, and I didn't learn this till later, but he needed affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He needed to know that he was doing well, even if we didn't meet the goal. Because when I got on him, he was a lot like my son. He was shut down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think you gotta know the audience, and you gotta know
That's
the
a
people
good.
around you.
I mean, that's a really good point because while we talk about leadership is like this, it encompasses all these qualities.
Mm-hmm.
There's still, it's like leadership is living, so you still have to adapt to your audience and who you're trying to lead, because if they don't, people receive things differently in the way, I mean, if you can morph and understand your employees, and you know that this person takes criticism and runs for the stars, you know, and then this one needs a little bit more petting, you know, I mean, that's, but doing that for 200 people underneath you is going to be.
Yeah, that makes it challenging. For sure.
Well, you can't do it for 200 people. He's going to have to build a team under him.
Right.
right.
Yeah.
And so that's what's really cool about this is, you know, Nick is at a certain place in his leadership journey, and we may get to bring him in 6 or 8 months again and let him talk about the changes because he's learning right now. And, you know, he took the job
December.
Yeah. So 2025, he's going to be a year packed full of learning. And you would do yourself a wonderful credit, Nick, by diving in and focusing on this stuff and listening and learning from everyone around you. And I'm excited to see how you grow for sure. Okay, cool. So we know how you motivate. What would you say your leadership style is?
So my leadership style is it really is showing that. Let's see my style. So we done a thing. So like I like teamwork. So I like to collaborate with a team. You know, so I lead and I like feedback. But that's kind of I also like.
Do you like feedback?
Well, so, it is kind of. So my personality style is. You know, I'm going to take charge. Like if I come in, if we were all doing something here, it wouldn't matter if I knew anything about it. Like before we got done, like I would probably be leading
I'm taking charge.
Yeah. So I am that kind, but I don't like to. Like I'm not going to say we're going to do it like this because I said so, but we're going to do it like this because this is what I think. Like we'll take like this right here. I have some guys that refuse to use this list. Okay, so what I presented it to them, I presented it to them from a quality standpoint, from a customer satisfaction standpoint, to even just a personal growth standpoint. You know, so like if you can go into a job meeting with your task, you know, and then or life, you know, so give yourself a purpose. This right here is going to give you purpose. You know what I mean? And you have your purpose laid out. So whether it's in your home. You know, what is your purpose going to be as a husband? What is your purpose going to be as a dad? You know, you got to know that purpose. So if you can articulate it and put it on paper and you have that purpose and it's driven, then you're going to be more apt to succeed.
Well, you've got something to shoot for. The expectations are clear.
Yeah.
So as a leader, your guys need to do completion list.
Yeah, well, they need to know their purpose. What is the purpose for the day? What is the purpose for the week?
Right.
And what is the goal?
Yeah. And then being able to do that when they don't want to do that, you've got to motivate them to do that.
Right.
And now you've got 200 people, 100 foremen to motivate to do what they're supposed to do, even when they don't want to.
Yeah.
And so that's interesting. So I've had several people, Tyler and Brandon, I think both alluded to being servant leaders. And I would say that you're the same.
Oh, that's. I mean, I don't think you can lead effectively without it. I mean, it's like initiating policy or something. Like policy doesn't. That's like doing it because I said so.
Yeah.
So policy is great, and of course you got to have it at certain times, but you got to be able to connect with them personally before the policy ever works.
So you would agree that you're a servant leader also?
I don't think you can do it without it.
Okay.
I don't think you can be a leader without it.
All right. Without serving.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. All right. So, let's talk about a moment in time. I want a story from you. Tell me a story about a moment when you realized that you were, in fact, making an impact. And it may just have been this past week, but...
Oh, I got plenty.
Give me one.
Now, I want to be humble when I say it, but and this is not... And the impacts may be... Okay, let's take, like, your brother, for example. Okay? So, and he impacted me. He let me know that maybe I needed to change my style, because I remember working with him one day, and y'all heard the podcast before, but I had got on him pretty hard, and he looked at me and said, "That's why nobody likes working for you."
Oh man.
So it was like, and it is, and if you know Brandon, he never had trouble telling you what he thought.
No.
Which is a great quality at times and can get him in trouble at times.
Sure.
Too. But that really
stung a little bit.
It did, and it really told me that I really needed to change. That not everybody, you can't lead everybody the same.
Right.
Like I said, I could drive you. You know what I mean? Like I could push, but you couldn't.
So I was always the kind of guy that I got mad and did more.
Right.
I was told this by multiple people.
Yeah.
But when I was on my tools and I had foremen, they would intentionally make me mad because I got the job done faster.
But but like I said, that's part of what. And the reason I led that way in the beginning is because I was that way from like as a kid playing ball. My dad would tell you if he would make me mad on a football field, that I would run through that brick wall. So to me, that's how I thought you led.
And then I echoed it because he did it to me, and I would work harder.
That's funny. That's good.
But there's another aha moment just for like personal in my faith.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was saved when I was 12, but not necessarily following Christ like I should, So and then I was married and had some kids, and I'm like, I'm gonna lead my family. I'm gonna be the man that God wants me to be. So I'm getting my family in church, and I'm doing what I think I'm supposed to do. But it was only on Sundays.
Mm.
So I'm at work, and I asked one of the guys to move my truck. I said, "Will you move my truck out of that parking place?" We had to move it. And of course, I had the fish was on the radio, He gets out of the truck, and he looks at me and says, "I never would have known you listened to the fish."
Mm. That was a rain check.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's all kind of little moments like that when you realize, you're not really walking the walk that you think you are. So I think as from a leadership standpoint, you got to accept humility and accept that, there are times that you're going to get it right and also times that you're going to fail. And I think as a leader, showing the guys that it's all right to fail, that we're not always going to get it right, but we're going to be here to pick each other up when we do, is part of being a leader also.
Yes, that's good. Okay to fail.
Yep.
If you're not, I've heard wise people say, if you're not failing, you're not doing anything. So you want to be consistently failing. That's how you're learning. So let's get straight to who has been a major influence in your life. Tell me about at least one or two people that you feel you made contributions to who you are today.
Can I give 3?
You can.
Okay. So
they may be listening. So
I was 6 years old.
Okay.
Didn't grow up in church. My parents didn't go. But I was playing ball. So I was playing baseball. I met a friend of mine named Scott Lanier, and of course my home life can be kind of wild. That's not for here, but we can get into another story. But So I wanted to go off, so I asked his mom, would it be all right if I would come over for the weekend? And she said, yes, but you have to bring church clothes.
Mm.
So I said, all right. Mom and Daddy, they didn't care. They didn't go to church, but they didn't mind that I did. So, and then, of course, she's the one that introduced me to Christ, and, I ended up giving my life to Christ. But just to show the trickle-down effect of what it means to be just a servant, because, she was just doing it out of love, So
What was her name?
Linda Lanier.
Linda Lanier.
Yeah. And so she, which, you want to see the big effect of being just a servant leader that she was being. So through that, it's 6 years old and, pretty much making us go to hear the word, to eventually leading my family. I was able to baptize both my children, watch my dad get baptized, and my mother start coming to church, which they actually go to our church now. From that one lady.
You're giving credit to Miss Linda.
I'm giving credit
Okay.
to Miss Linda. Yep.
Wonderful. Okay.
And then, of course, y'all heard him talked about on here before, too, John.
John Weber.
Yeah. Really showed me work ethic and really how to put your guys first. Like, there was no better leader than John at making sure your guys were taken care of before you are.
He had your back.
Yeah, so whether that be your kids, your wife, your men at work, like, he was always last on the list. Like, if work got tight and, there was only one thing for someone to do, then he sat at home
Yep.
while you went to work. He didn't get paid while you did.
Right.
So, we sacrifice so our kids can have certain things, or so our wives can be there with our kids if you can do that. So I think as a leader, you always put others first.
I'm going to write that
That's
down
good.
too. So others first always. That's super critical. And John displayed that's what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yep, John. That was my biggest takeaway from John. Of course, he's like a daddy to me. I mean, he was in my first wedding, and
Yeah. Me and you both.
yeah,
Dude used to wake me up.
yeah,
I was like 18 years old working with Nick and John would come and pick me up in the morning time, and they would come and get me. And, they would pass by my house. So it was like we rode together for a little while, about a year. But I'd still be in there asleep, my alarm going off, probably drinking the night before. I mean, whatever. But he would come in there and wake me up and take me to work. And, I tell everybody, I give these guys credit for growing me up. I was a kid and not dumb, by the way. But, like, he would literally wake me up to go to work. And people didn't do that, And that wasn't something expected, but he cared. And he wanted me to do well. So
and then last,
I think you probably used to wake me up too.
yeah, probably. Last would be one of my best friend, Dana Brown.
Dana Brown.
So I met him. I was probably 19 or 20 years old. Maybe a little older. Just got married. We went on a hunting trip to Colorado
You went with Dana?
with Dana and like my uncle.
How
Stevie.
how did you bump into him?
He was friends with my Uncle Stevie, and then they hunted, and us three were going to go hunting together.
Okay.
Well, it's a 22-hour car ride.
Ah.
Yeah, so we would take turns sleeping we had all our luggage in the back of the truck, and we'd have sleeping bags back there. So one guy would sleep in the back, and the other two would drive, and we'd just rotate. So I had long hours in the truck with Dana, and then, of course, and he was a godly man, and so we were riding.
Even then?
Even then.
Okay.
Even then. This
Early
was
on.
after.
Okay.
Yeah, this is after his. Yeah, he was a godly man at this point.
At this point.
Yes.
Okay.
So he invited me to a Promise Keepers, and so we went to Promise Keepers, invited me to his church, and then all of a sudden we talked every day. You want to talk about mentors in your life and mentorship, like, he's 12 years older than me. He could have been like, why's this guy calling me every day? Like I did. I called him every day. I still call him every day.
That's
so,
great.
And you want to talk about an impact you want to leave too. Sorry, jumping around.
No,
going back
you're
to the
good.
first one, but
That's what we're doing.
I would like to be able to leave that kind of impact too.
Well-
To be able to mentor, have somebody that just, and God's gonna have to bring them in my life, and maybe there's been a lot, that I don't realize that maybe I've impacted through the thing, but to be able just to know that you can leave that lasting mentorship on someone.
So I'll tell you this, and sometimes it takes something just like this to understand the need for it. But you have to be intentional about all these things, and we talk about that on this show. If you're not intentional about it, you'll slip. You get caught up in the world. And one thing that you should do as a leader is be intentional about mentorship.
Yep.
You should be intentional about being mentored and doing the mentoring. So if you're not already, you need to get somebody that you, maybe it's Dana, but you need to sit down with Dana and challenge him. Look, man, I've always followed you all my life, and I appreciate it, being able to bounce stuff off of you. Do you mind continuing that, being intentional about it? And then do the same thing for someone else. It's important as a leader that you do that, because we talk about reps, Daniel, but that's where you practice. And being able to just, not today, well, maybe you can think of somebody, but think of somebody that you feel like is ready to follow, okay? And someone that you can make progress with. It helps you. And so, especially in your position now, you be thinking about who you can lead and who you can mentor, and that's something that you need to do as a leader. So, and that will grow your legacy, All right. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out which one I want to ask. Key life events that have shaped your leadership. I don't know. I kind of want to go back to. Have you ever had a setback?
Oh, for sure. So
You want to talk about a setback? Let's do that.
yeah, so I was married for 17 years to my first wife, and we led our marriage ministry at the church and all, and then so at that point in time at the church I was at, they come to me, asked me to be an elder at the church. Of course, then they ask you, how's your marriage? So, and I said, it's as strong as it's ever been. So, and of course, they got on, and they do 4-year terms at that church, and then you come off.
Right.
So I was about in year 2, and she left home. And we talk about failures, and I can remember going in and sitting in front of the board, and having to resign.
Right.
And they didn't necessarily say I had to resign, but so I had to go in there and tell them though that I can't lead a body of Christ if you're failing in your home.
Right. From
so,
that position.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just I'm sure I wasn't all there at work.
Yeah.
But just knowing that after coming through it, just knowing that Christ had me the whole way.
I was going to say, that brought you close to the
Yeah.
Lord. Yeah.
Yeah, knowing
There's
that.
always good that comes out of it. Right?
Oh,
I mean,
it's amazing how He can take something so bad and turn it into something so good.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't see it. You don't, when you're in the middle of it, like you don't know it.
That's good. That's good. So that would be a life event that shaped your life, which made you who you are, and it taught you a lot about relationship, I'm sure.
Oh,
And so,
you would love to work for me now.
so you had some humble pie. No, I mean, look, hey, look, man, that's what this is about.
Yeah.
And so, one thing that has in my mind right now, I'm hearing you say it's all about relationships.
Yeah.
And so, when you talk about Linda and John and Dana, and then your marriage, at some point, the relationships around you that, they're either flourishing or they're not, but whatever they're doing, they're making you who you are. And so think about, in the Bible where we are the clay and who's the potter. I mean, right? So, but all along the way, God's making you who you are, and it's certainly shaping you as a person. which is shaping your influence, right? Which is shaping your leadership. So, and that's what we're talking about on the show. So, if there was one thing that you could share with the whole world, what would it be?
So I have a saying. I can't remember who I stole it from, but I did. I stole it from someone. But
We all do that.
but it really set with me, and really I really try to model my leadership and my life after it. And it says, it's no one cares what you know unless they know that you care.
Wow.
That's good.
Yeah.
So I mean, if I was going to lead the world with one thing, just let them know
That's
that you
worthy
care.
of a Facebook post,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. No
Say
one
it one more-
cares.
Yeah.
Say it again.
No one cares what you know unless they know that you care.
It's so true. That's in everything.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
all
that's,
life.
yeah. You can apply that to leadership, being a parent, being a spouse. I mean, that's relationships. That's great.
No one cares what you know unless they know that you care. And yeah, I love it. So, what would be the most important message to you right now, today, regarding leadership? Now, you're welcome to go ahead and throw the gospel out there if you want to. But, yeah, I mean, what's the most important message to you today?
What do you mean?
Like, as far as leadership, like a growing, thriving leader, what do you tell him? As somebody that you're mentoring, like, learn from what I did wrong.
I would say learn from what I would learn from everyone.
Okay.
If I'm talking to a guy that's young and wanting to be a leader, first thing I'm gonna be is honest. I'm gonna tell him to be honest with everyone, because you're not gonna lead anyone that doesn't trust you.
Ooh, trust.
So, first of all, the people you're leading need to trust you. And in order to do that, you need to do what you say you're gonna do.
Okay.
So if you can't do it, don't tell them
Right.
you can do it, because then you're going to lose your credibility.
You're going to lose your influence.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. So you learn from everyone, honest and trustworthy. But so, Maddie, the meaningful question that we had last week, I want to get there, but let's go ahead and do that.
Okay.
You ask him. This is on the spot because he doesn't have any idea what you're about to ask
Okay.
him.
In your opinion, what is the most important quality a leader should possess? I
so
look at
hard.
this as like a one, like
Yeah.
a boom.
Like, think about it.
Yeah.
When you can think about all the leadership qualities. The number one.
Trustworthy.
It's funny because that's what I said. Well, that and being present. But go ahead. Tell me why.
Because if you're for people to believe in you, they have to trust you. So if you don't have trust, you don't have nothing with your guys, and that comes by investing in them. Like, it becomes knowing what they do outside of work. You got to know them. You got to understand what means the most to the people you're leading. And they have to trust you in order for you to be able to, because they're not going to open up to you either if they don't trust you.
Understanding, we haven't talked about that. So, the book of Proverbs, if you've ever read that, it talks about in the Proverbs, it talks about how important seeking wisdom and understanding is. And say that what you said about understanding again.
You got to understand what means the most to the people you're leading.
Which goes back to your no one cares what you know unless they know that you care kind of thing too. Because like if you're understanding what the people you're leading, care about, and then it's like a more trusting relationship.
Well, it's like if you got guys at work that say one comes to you and says, I want to elevate higher than I can. And then I say, okay. I said, well, here, if you want to elevate higher in what we do, then I need you to manage a project like this. It's going to require you to be there 10 to 12 hours a day. Mm-hmm. It's going to require you to be the first one there, the last one to leave.
Oh, man, that's good.
But I said, but the role you're in right now, you have more freedom. You're able to come in, let's stay at 5 and leave at 1:30. You're able to spend lots of time at home and with your family. And if we're going to elevate you, then that's going to change.
Your leadership elevates you and gives you, in fact, more responsibility than less.
And I've had guys say, well, my time at home is going to be more important than that. So therefore I understand, does this guy want to excel? Does he want to elevate to different roles, which is going to be more responsibility and cost him more time? Or does he want to stay where he's at and be able to be at home, more with his family? And you got to understand that with each and every person, because you don't want to, if you elevate the wrong person to leadership, it's going to be just as bad as not elevating the right one.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
That's good stuff.
That is good. Nick, do you have a good story you want to share of any kind? It could be a funny story. It could be a sad story. Any kind of story that you want to share that tell everyone about. Or we can go to the next question, but I always want to ask if you have a story you want to share. Impactful story.
An impactful story. I should have been ready for that one.
That's
I
okay.
mean, I feel like the stories you've told are pretty impactful. I mean, that's
Oh, certainly. So, and two, I mean, when you talk about the story, your legacy is in fact a story. And that's what we talk about on here. And I believe it's the first or second week, I'd said that, you and God write your story. And that's your legacy,
So on that, we can get in. We'll talk about that for a little bit. So, my story, my walk with Christ, we could talk a lot, but
You got about 10 more minutes.
so when I started leading my family. I would say honestly, around 25, 26.
Okay.
But even then was evolving like at work. I mean, like I said, people didn't know. You wouldn't have known. You thought that guy's not a Christian. So to be able to walk that daily life and people to know. I mean, I can remember even my wife now. So I got a desk. And I said, I want you to get me a digital picture frame.
Mm-hmm.
And I want one of the fish to put on my desk.
Mm-hmm.
She'll call me out. You know what I mean? Like she'll hold me accountable.
Your wife now.
Yeah. So she said, "You sure you want that on your desk? People are gonna know.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna be held to that standard."
Right. And this is recent because
This is like
you just
2
got your
weeks
desk
ago.
in December.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So, and not that she was questioning me. She holds me to that higher standard.
Right.
And she wants to make sure that I am going to lead.
There you go.
In that way,
Well,
and
I was going to say, behind every good leader is a good partner, a good wife or a husband.
for sure.
Women, males, females, whatever, a good partner, right? So, a good leader, though, in order for them to lead well, they got to be good at home and have a supportive spouse. So I always thank even pastors, their wives, like our pastor's wife, her role is mission critical, because for him to be healthy, she has to be healthy. For you to be healthy, she has to, fill you up.
Yeah.
So otherwise, you won't be healthy. So it's good. I'm glad to know that she supports you and she holds you accountable. That's a good thing. Having took some time to uncover some of this and talk. So tell me about this book first.
So this guy right here, his name is Horst Schultz. He was co-founder of the Ritz-Carlton.
Okay.
And it's just about being excellent, and trying to. So me as a leader, I want to be able to instill that in everyone that I'm leading and myself. We don't want to just be good. We want to be great. We want to be excellent. So it just goes through certain things that gives you like I got some stuff highlighted in here. Let's see. I'll read one of the things I got highlighted.
So for the guest out there, he's been reading a book called Excellence Wins, and we like to talk about books on here. Mm-hmm. If you want a good book, it sounds like it's intriguing to Nick. I haven't read it, but let's hear about it.
So one of them, it says, in certain situations, focusing on the individual can make a huge difference instead of the broad picture. You really focus on a person,
right?
And it's just they want to be respected and they want to feel their worth. And something as simple as calling them by name.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
can just make them know that they are valued.
Right.
So there's just little things like that through there. And he also, you heard the phrase Chick-fil-A, my pleasure. That's from this guy right here.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow. So he's taking
That's
credit
cool.
for it.
yeah.
We'll ask Lim about that. No, just kidding. But yeah, no, that's good. So Excellence Wins. That's Horst Schultz.
And this is a customer service kind of book, but you could take.
That's good.
You could replace customer service with my children, my spouse, my coworkers.
Absolutely.
You could if you when you read through there, you can flip that any way you want to flip it and
Yeah.
apply it in your life, because you want to be more than a good dad, right?
Oh yeah.
You want to be an excellent dad. You want to be more than just a good husband. You want to be the best husband.
That's my aspiration.
Yeah.
But Lord, I knows I struggle. One thing I just thought about, I met a friend of Maddie's last week, and he told me we were talking about customer service, and I was raving about how good his customer service was at his particular place of business. And he said, "You know how I do it?" And I said, "I want to know." And he said, "ES equals CS." And I said, What? And he said, "Employee satisfaction equals customer satisfaction."
Yeah.
So focus on your people. And I mean, dude, it was like, wow. You don't hear
Well,
that.
you take our business for example.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm really going to try to change in the leadership role that I'm now is you hear they and them. So you have the field or the office.
Yeah.
And if we have that separation, there's not going to be that like togetherness. The same
Goals.
goal at the end. So I don't know. I never want my guys that I'm leading to feel that there's a separation between me and them.
You want to be with them, part of them.
That's right.
And that's leadership. So that's good. All right, so having took some time to uncover some of this inside of you, can you think of anything over the past few days? I mean, I know prepping for this little podcast may or may not have benefited you at all. It certainly benefited the audience because they learn from someone like you. And I just thank you for coming. But would you do anything different? Have you uncovered anything that you would do different based on the last week or two of preparing?
Well, even just as I grow in leadership and grow in life and in faith. I mean, because it's constant. So I mean, there's going to be something I could come back next week and say I learned this, or the week after we learned that. But being able to like articulate it and write it down, which is kind of hard for people that when you just do, and then sometimes God just lets it work out, because it's really nothing to do with what we do anyway. It's all Christ. So being able to put it on paper and really kind of think about it is, knowing that I want to be, maybe my personality, I hope I appeared genuine or caring. Even
Sure.
take our story when you said I threw China locks at you, So as bad as that sounds, like I really just wanted you to be the best you could be.
I know.
I really just wanted you to and obviously you have. So I mean, where you're at right now, you have grown so much. So, being able to see, where you are from where we started, and even Brandon, like where he's at now, and always knowing that, that he had some kind of impact on that, and so hopefully there was some genuine, even if it come across a little harsh, that there was some care there.
You weren't the only one that did that to me, so it's
Yeah.
okay. No, no, I had a lot of guys that led through the years that just like that, and back then it was not abnormal. And today you would be in HR or fired, but
Yeah.
look, this was 20 years ago, so it's not even the same anymore. But you've grown out of that. You've grown from that. I've grown from that. That was just part of the journey, but it obviously worked with me. So, and my brother, and look, people that came under you are running businesses, right? Or leading in tremendous ways. So, God used you to teach us, and I admire you for that.
Thank you.
And as we talked about a few weeks ago, you were there for me in some of the darkest days of my life, and I thank you for that too. So, and I thank you for joining us today. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, just hopefully that there are no more dark days, but
Yeah.
if they are, you know you can count on me.
Uh.
And I truly, hopefully you felt that I truly cared.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It meant a lot and changed my life. So, thank you. So you have made an impact, even if it's just me, little old me.
But look at the trickle down effect from that.
Yeah,
So,
look at this.
yeah.
Yeah. Maddie, you got anything?
I'm good. Got
Good.
it. That was. I love the no one cares. No one cares what you know
Until
unless
they
they
know
know.
that you,
Yeah,
until
I
they know
love
that
that.
you care.
I love that.
That's good. Yeah, we're going to definitely post that up on the Facebook, so you'll be Facebook famous later. So, anyways, all right. Well, we're signing off. Y'all
Signing
lead
off.
well.
Lead well.
Thanks.
Oh.